So this is why I gave up on being a doctor. Growing up, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was okay at school, but struggled with it. I just pushed myself to insane levels of stress in order to do good. And by the time I was in community college, I started taking sort of the prerequisite science classes, biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, and going on to this science medical potential path. And over time, I was interested in it, but I just figured this was something that was a good opportunity. And we'll get to that, but that is not a good reason to try to do something as extreme as becoming a doctor. But really, I just didn't have that passion necessarily. And I remember I was working a job. I was probably about 18, and this was early in college, and I was working as a server at like this high-end resort, and I would talk to people who were wealthy, successful, happy, doing all these interesting things. And at this particular moment, for a day, I had decided I was considering being a dentist. And Dr. Dentist, like this day, I decided dentist was what I wanted to do with my life. And I remember they were just like, well, do you love teeth? Do you want to be a dentist? And these people were just telling me that, like, why the hell would you do that if you don't care about it? Life is so much more interesting, and you can do so many things. And simultaneously with this, I still ended up going through with the degree, by the way. I finished all of pre-med. I got a degree at UCLA in psychobiology, and but simultaneously as I was doing that, I was also getting fed up with just the constant intensity and it never being enough, and everything just leveling up to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You have to do this good in high school to get into this college, and you have to do this good to get into medical school, or this good on the MCATs, or all these things. So after years and years of school and just going to the next level and the next level and the next level, I was hitting a serious wall, and I had a ton of anxiety at this time. And looking back, it was just like, what was this all for? It was insanity. And that definitely just led me to thinking, this is not a viable path. I'm going to go on for another 4 years of medical school, which is going to be cutthroat, and then residencies and all this stuff, only to get a job that is insanely high stress and rewarding, fulfilling perhaps, but not enough income to really outweigh the craziness that we would be putting on ourselves to go through with all this. It's basically sacrificing a ton of your life in order to do this thing. And there was something that Tim Ferriss said. This was later. This is not something that convinced me at the time, but I layered it on top as I thought back. And I remember him saying something about doing the thing that you are the least replaceable at. And something that I felt is like, look, being a doctor is, people need to do it. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredibly helpful. People want to help people, and that's why they do it, and the world needs it. But because it is so cutthroat and it is so competitive, look, if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. Like there is too much, actually. So it is not, while it is difficult, while it is very important and very high value, it is not very irreplaceable. And around the same time that I was in all these crazy hard classes, just being insanely stressed, I was also starting side businesses for the first time. And this is really where my paradigm shifted, and I just started to realize how insane the path that I was on was. And this is because I started making decent money, not crazy, not getting rich, but I started making enough money to sustain myself in relatively little time but on my own terms, on my own time, on my own efforts, and putting in time and making money. And I was doing this because I was reselling iPhones and watches online, and I was also starting to sell on Amazon around this time. And as I was in these crazy classes, I would be, digging deep into the research that I was doing for my business on Amazon. And it started growing to a point that by the time I graduated, I was completely certain that I didn't want to go on the old path anymore. I actually never applied to any job after college whatsoever, let alone applying to med school. I decided in time that I wouldn't even, take the MCATs or all of that. But that was my intent, say second to last year of college. That was fully my intent for a while. But this culmination of realizing there's other ways to make money and that life doesn't necessarily need to just be this stress craziness of competition, and then even when you get to the finish line, the hours are insane. It's not a healthy environment necessarily. And had this been the thing that I was the most passionate about in the world, then yes, I think it would be worth it. And if that's you watching this perhaps, then maybe it's right for you to stay on this path. But if you think that becoming a dentist or a doctor or an engineer or anything really, and it's not what you want to do, you need to rethink that, because that's all life is really, is what you do with your time. And a lot of that has to be work, unless you hit it really big. So you have to be doing something that you care about. And sure, these things are mildly fulfilling, perhaps. You might be able to convince yourself that this is what you are supposed to be doing, but is it really? I mean, are these really the things that you care about? Are these really the things that you want to see in the world? Are these the things you would be doing anyways if it wasn't about it being a good opportunity to make money or it being impressive to your family and friends? Is this what you'd be doing anyways? And if the answer is no, I think it's worth rethinking. And I think you can't also just be delusional on the other side and think, well, I just love this weird, obscure thing and that's all I'm going to do. You need to blend in some practicality. But for me, it wasn't the right blend. It wasn't enough to outweigh these crazy downsides and this crazy stress and this crazy just never endingness of going through with that path. So thankfully I realized that it wasn't for me, because can you imagine if I had actually got to the end and then realized that? I would probably just now still not even be practicing, I don't know, all these years later. So that would be wild to imagine putting in that much time into something that wasn't the thing. So whether you're on that path or some other path, hopefully this was just a little refresher to you and you can think about, am I on the right path? Am I on the right path? I don't know, but I do know that it's good to be keeping a pulse on how I feel about the path that I'm on. So you have to do that kind of check-in about where you're going. And I'll also add, because I was somebody that never knew what I wanted to do and I would change interests every couple of years, and I still do. I think for that reason, if you're like me, entrepreneurship is the best thing, because you always are starting something new or shifting what you're doing. You can have that freedom within limitations, and that really allows you to be creative and to explore new things. And for me, what got me onto that path was e-commerce and Amazon. And there's a lot of videos on my channel, if you are new to all of that, that you can definitely dig into and check out. Or I also have a free training on getting started with an Amazon business and making money online. You can find that at the top of the description below this video. I encourage you to check that out, as well as some other links in the description to tools and resources and free Facebook groups and things like that. And if this video helped you, if this was interesting to you, please do smash the like button and subscribe to this channel. Leave comments. Those things help the YouTube algorithm and help me a lot, so they are much appreciated. And hope you enjoyed. See you soon.